As Told by Ginger was an absolute gem on TV when I was a kid. Almost every episode had a deep message that even adults could relate to, which made it the perfect animated dramedy. Some episodes were funny, some were gut-wrenching, and some even had fans questioning everything they knew about life, especially the episode "And She Was Gone." To this day, it has to be one of the darkest episodes of any show to run on Nickelodeon. But what really made the episode so heart-wrenching is that it caused a lot of viewers to take a deeper and more introspective look at their own lives. The episode set a solemn tone for itself right away, as it showed a crow flying over the snow-covered fictional town of Sheltered Shrubs, Connecticut. The crow is obviously a huge symbol here, but not the one you might think. Most people know that crows are typically used to represent death or misfortune in media. But in the episode, "And She Was Gone," the crow was used to symbolize self-reflection. You know, standard concepts for a kid's show. And the crow continued to fly. It passed a lone woman dressed in white walking down the street, and then eventually flew directly over Ginger's middle school, Lucky Junior High. The scene transitioned from black and gray to full color as the camera panned down on Ginger, and right away we are thrown into the plot of the episode. Ginger was interested in entering a writing competition after hearing her teacher recite a poem written by the winner from the previous year. She asked her teacher the rules of the competition and found out that the last day to enter her poem was at the end of the week. So, Ginger decided to hunker down and get to work on creating the perfect poem. Her brother, on the other hand, was up to something else entirely. He was about to learn the hard way that sometimes you don't know how much you love something, or in this case someone, until they're potentially gone forever. You see, Carl and Hoodsy were first shown in the episode staring in awe at a poster for vanishing powder. They went into the shop and Carl tried to broker a deal with the owner by claiming that they only had enough money for the vanishing powder and not the elixir that supposedly made the vanished person reappear. There was no deal to be made though, and Carl ended up buying the vanishing powder by itself. As the scene transitioned back to Ginger, neither she nor her little brother knew that they were both about to face a major turning point in their lives. You're probably wondering though, how could writing a poem have such a major impact on Ginger's life? Well, it ended up giving her a reputation at school that she definitely didn't want. After she showed her poem to her teacher, it led to some questions about Ginger's personal views and how she was feeling mentally. The poem that Ginger wrote was so deep and chilling that even as a kid, I remember being blown away. As she sat down at her typewriter, she asked the keys to talk to her, which they did. As she narrated, she chose to walk alone, though others wondered why. Refused to look before her, eyes cast upwards towards the sky. She didn't have companions, no need for earthly things. She only wanted freedom from what she felt were puppet strings. She longs to be a bird that she might fly away. She pitied every blade of grass, for planted they would stay. She longed to be a flame that brightly danced alone, felt jealous of the steam that made the air its only home. Some say she wished too hard, some say she wished too long, but we awoke one autumn day to find out she was gone. The trees, they say, stood witness, the sky refused to tell, but someone who had seen it said the story played out well. She spread her arms out wide, breathed in the break of dawn. She just let go of all she held, and she was gone. Now, I can't speak for everyone, but I know that I've personally felt like the person in Ginger's poem before, and there are probably a lot of other people who can also relate to it. So it's understandable to see why the teacher would be concerned about her young student writing a poem about something as profound as Ginger's. That being said though, she probably could have handled it a little bit better. After she read the poem, Ginger's teacher told her to take a seat. And I don't know if you've ever been in trouble in class before, but those 3 words, take a seat, can be horrifying. She explained that Ginger's poem was troubling and suggested that it might imply that Ginger was dealing with some deeper issues. She said that she wanted to show the poem to the school psychiatrist, despite Ginger swearing that her writing was all fiction and that none of it was a reflection of how she actually felt. Or so she thought. This is where things started to become devastating for Ginger, as rumors quickly began to spread around the school that she was, in her own words, a head case. And as you know, with a rumor like that spreading around school, someone's reputation can tank very quickly, and a lot of people might start treating them differently, which is exactly what happened to Ginger. She started getting attention from people who were clearly pitying her supposedly declining mental health, even though Ginger herself claimed that she didn't feel depressed. Now, by this point, Ginger was dealing with some pretty serious stuff for a teen her age that she most likely didn't anticipate when she was writing her poem for the competition. But do you think she knew that her brother was also on the verge of a potentially life-changing realization? Life-changing might be a bit of a strong word, but still, you can't discount a teen's first love. And that's exactly what Carl was about to discover. Carl and Hoodsie were up all night in their secret base trying to figure out who to use the vanishing powder on. In the end, they decided to make Noel Sussman disappear. The first thing that they did when they got to class the next day was spread the vanishing powder all around Noel's desk. And to be honest, I don't know how she didn't see that pile of white powder, but she walked right through it like she was Tony Montana or something. Little did Carl realize though, he was about to be sucker punched right in the heart by a little thing called a crush. After Noel walked through the powder, she began shuffling through her desk before pulling out finger puppets that she used to mock her classmates. And her quirky, carefree attitude, plus her sense of humor, was enough to make Carl smitten. Hoodsie and Carl continued to watch Noel throughout the day, and by the end of it, Carl regretted the fact that he potentially made her disappear. And the next day, his horrors became a reality, or so he thought when Noel didn't show up for class. Carl was filled with guilt because he truly believed that he made his classmate disappear for good. And eventually, he even resorted to selling his prized eyeball in a jar to raise enough money for the reappearing elixir to bring her back. The funny thing is though, as he ran into class to pour the magic liquid on the ground around Noel's desk, his teacher informed him that she didn't vanish into thin air. She just moved across town and had to go to school in a different district. The happy look on Carl's face was enough to make anyone realize that love still exists, and thankfully he found Noel by the end of the episode and watched her be her carefree self. It was a really sweet subplot with a lot of deep undertones. But as the story flashed back to Ginger, it was hard not to empathize with what she was going through. I mean, can you imagine what it would be like to think you're okay and then suddenly the rest of the school, including your teachers, think you're a head case? That's exactly what Ginger was going through, and she had to learn for herself just how important it was to be understood by those around you and accepted for who you really are rather than who people perceive you as. And so Ginger attended a school rap group, which was basically like an open share circle / therapy session. It was there that she learned the importance of sharing her feelings with others. We know this because in the next scene, Ginger writes in her diary after a long week at school, and through her narration, she explained that group therapy wasn't all that bad. She claimed that sharing her feelings was a good way to pass the time, but most importantly, she realized why her poem managed to hit everyone who read it on such a gut-wrenching level. Ginger explained how everyone could relate to the main character, including herself. She realized that as a writer, she was going to put herself and her emotions into every page that she wrote, and in the end, it didn't matter if her story ended up winning the competition or not. Her poem already gave her more than she could ever hope for, a fresh perspective on life. It is interesting to see this young girl come to know herself better through her own work, because that's something that everyone in life can relate to or hope to achieve. On another level, I totally agree with Ginger when she said that everyone could relate to the main character of her poem. Life isn't all sunshine and rainbows, and at some point everyone is going to wonder what if, or want more out of the life that they're given. And to have that sort of message in a cartoon is both insane and amazing at the same time. But what did you guys think about the episode though? Could you relate to Ginger's poem like the rest of the characters who read it? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. I look forward to reading all that you have to say.